I remember the exact day. It began not because of anything dramatic, but because of how normal it all seemed. It was 2 weeks after my 18th birthday. The candles had barely cooled on my vanilla cake, the kind my mom always made with too much frosting, when Rick, my stepfather, knocked on my bedroom door holding a thick stack of papers and a grin I'd learned to dread. "Lena, got a quick favor for me, sweetheart." That was always his opener, always with that condescending little smirk, calling me sweetheart, like he was doing me a favor. I didn't like him, I never had, but Mom did, and that counted for something. He stepped in, waving the papers like confetti. "Just need your signature here. It's for the truck loan. Helps with the rates if we co-sign with someone fresh. Clean credit. Your mom and I thought it'd be good to put your name on it. Start building your history." I blinked. "Why me?" Rick chuckled like it was cute. "Because we're a family. You're an adult now. Time to contribute." I hesitated, the weight of the papers heavier than I expected. "Can I read it?" His eyes narrowed slightly, just for a second, then softened again. Sure, it's just standard stuff. I already looked it over. Your mom said it's fine." That last sentence. That's the one that pushed the pen into my hand. If Mom said it was fine, it had to be. Right, I signed. That was the first mistake. It didn't stop there. A few months later, Rick said he needed a loan for a small business venture. Something about flipping cars. "Banks are stingy with people our age," he joked. "But with your credit, sweetheart, easy approval." I wasn't comfortable. But he was persistent, smiling, guilt, tripping. "You don't want to help the family." I brought it up with Mom that night. We were washing dishes, and I told her I didn't feel okay being on another loan. She didn't even pause. Just shrugged and said, "Don't be dramatic. You're helping us get ahead. That's what family does." "But what if something goes wrong?" I asked. She gave me a look, the kind that made me feel like I was 5 years old again and had said something embarrassingly stupid. "Lena," she said, her voice sharp, "stop playing victim." That stung more than I expected, more than I admitted. I nodded, swallowed it, and signed the second loan. By the time I was 19, there were 4 loans in my name. A truck, 2 credit cards, 1 business loan, all maxed out or in default. I didn't even know about the second credit card until a collections letter showed up at the shared apartment I had just moved into. I confronted Rick, shaking with frustration. "You told me these would be paid off. My credit's ruined. I can't even apply for school loans." He didn't even look up from his beer. "Relax, it'll bounce back. You're not even paying them. That's not my problem, you signed. You're an adult, remember?" I went to my mother, tears brimming, voice cracking. "You let this happen to me. You let him use me." She didn't even blink. "Lena," she said coldly, "you need to stop acting like such a victim. It's getting old." That was the moment everything inside me went numb. It wasn't the loans. It wasn't the debt. It wasn't even Rick. It was her silence, her betrayal, her choice to stand beside the man who had torn through my future like it meant nothing, and not just accept it, but defend it. I stood in the hallway, watching her dry her hands and walk away like I was a problem she'd just finished solving. And in that moment, I realized something awful. They never saw me as family, just a tool, just a signature, just a convenient name on a line. I moved out 3 weeks later with nothing but a suitcase and a shattered heart. I couch surfed with a friend, took a waitressing job downtown, spent nights lying awake staring at the ceiling, wondering how the people who raised me could hurt me this way. I pulled my credit report. I saw the full list: 5 open accounts, 4 in default, 1 in collections. My name, my address, my future trashed. I wanted to scream. I wanted to disappear. But somewhere inside, a flicker of something began to burn. A whisper that said, "This wasn't your fault. They did this, not you. I wasn't a victim, but they had made me one." And I wasn't done yet, not even close. 6 months after I left my mother's house, I got a call from a collections agency at 7:43 a.m. The man on the other end said my full name like it was a threat. He read off numbers like they meant nothing. $11,602 for a business loan I never saw a cent of. We've sent multiple notices. He said, annoyed. If this isn't resolved, it's going to court. I hung up and threw up in my bathroom sink. That was my new morning routine. Wake up, panic, survive. I was 19, broke, and legally responsible for thousands of dollars in debt I didn't understand. I had no credit, no car, no school. I was living paycheck to paycheck in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 roommates, sharing a futon and working double shifts at a diner just to cover rent. My phone buzzed constantly, calls from numbers I didn't know, voicemails from strangers threatening legal action. It felt like drowning, quiet, endless drowning. I reached out to my mother once more. I didn't want to. But some part of me still believed she'd finally understand, that maybe she changed, that maybe somehow I mattered again. She answered on the 3rd ring. Hello, Mom, I said. It's me. Silence. Then, what do you want? The words knocked the breath from me. I told her everything about the calls, the collections, my ruined credit, my rejection letters from colleges because I couldn't qualify for loans. I begged her to talk to Rick, to make him take responsibility, to just say something. She sighed. I'm sorry you feel that way. I feel that way because it's true. You're choosing to stay stuck in this mindset. You need to grow up, Lena. Own your choices. My choices. I couldn't even speak. I just sat there, phone in my hand, mouth open, shaking in disbelief. Then came the nail in the coffin. You're always trying to make yourself the victim. It's exhausting. That was the last time we spoke. I started keeping a folder, not for healing, for justice, receipts, emails, screenshots, even voice memos when Rick left me voicemails asking for more help. I didn't know what I could do with it all, but it felt like building armor, proof that I hadn't imagined it, that I wasn't crazy, because for a while I really thought I was. Every adult I had grown up with made me feel like I was overreacting. Dramatic, ungrateful, like I should be thankful that Rick gave me a real-world experience. But one day, during a double shift at the diner, I met Jasmine. She was older than me by 10 years, working 2 jobs while going to night school. I caught her once, reading a thick binder of legal notes on her lunch break. You studying law? I asked. She nodded. Financial justice, bankruptcy and fraud stuff. I told her just a little about my situation. Not everything, just enough to get a feel for her reaction. She didn't laugh. She didn't doubt me. She looked me dead in the eye and said, Sweetheart, what they did to you wasn't just cruel. It might have been criminal. That was the first time someone believed me. Really believed me. Jasmine told me about a local legal aid nonprofit that helped victims of financial abuse. She even drove me there on her day off, sitting beside me in the waiting room while I filled out paperwork with shaking hands. The lawyer they assigned me was a soft-spoken woman named Marla. She asked questions, took notes, and when I handed her my folder, my messy collection of anger and fear, she said something I'll never forget. This was a paper trap, but you can get out. It wasn't easy. Nothing was. Marla explained that co-signing loans meant I was legally tied to them. But if I could prove coercion, manipulation, and especially fraud, we could dispute some of the debt. It was a long process. Some loans were non-dischargeable. Others we could challenge. Some might fall off over time. But most importantly, it gave me a plan. We filed identity misuse paperwork for the accounts I hadn't approved. We sent cease and desist letters to collection agencies. We filed complaints with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Every form felt like taking back a piece of myself. It would take time, years maybe, but I wasn't powerless anymore. Meanwhile, Rick had started slipping. Jasmine found an old article online. Rick had a failed business in another state under a different name. Bankruptcy, lawsuits, unpaid employees. I dug deeper and realized he had a pattern. Charm someone, take out loans, run it dry, and disappear. And now he was using my name as fuel. My anger changed, it cooled, it got smarter, sharper. He thought I was weak. He thought I was just some scared girl with a ruined credit score and no one to back her up. He had no idea what was coming. I moved again, got a better job, took night classes using scholarships Jasmine helped me apply for. My life wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I stopped calling my mom. I stopped waiting for apologies that would never come. She chose Rick. She chose to stay blind, and that choice had a cost. I wasn't going to pay it anymore. The girl they used to call sweetheart was gone. What remained was someone they'd never see coming. Revenge, I learned, doesn't always come in flames and fury. Sometimes it comes in quiet paperwork, in deadlines, in signatures, in silence. I never raised my voice. I never showed up at their door screaming. I never begged my mother to care again. Instead, I waited. And I worked. For 2 years, I lived small, purposefully. I poured myself into night classes and legal forms. With Jasmine and Marla guiding me, I fought back one piece at a time. We disputed the loans I never gave verbal or written consent for. I filed an affidavit, it stating I was coerced under duress. We challenged the banks with copies of texts, voicemails, and one golden recording where Rick said, "Come on, Lena, just sign it. You know your mom expects you to." That recording became exhibit in a case I never thought I'd be strong enough to build. We didn't win everything. But we didn't have to. The business loan, forgiven due to fraud, the credit cards, settled for less than half, then closed. The truck loan, sent to collections, but it no longer impacted my ability to apply for school. My credit score started crawling back up. Slowly, but it moved, just like I did. Rick, meanwhile, was unraveling. Turns out, a man like him always needs a new scheme, a new victim. When the well dried up with me, he went looking elsewhere. Started mentoring young guys online, promising to teach them how to flip cars and make fast money. Only this time, one of them had a lawyer for a father. Within months, Rick was under investigation for fraud, impersonation, and financial misrepresentation. Guess who tipped them off? Not directly. I was smarter than that. But anonymous tips go a long way when they come with copies of tax records, fake invoices, and personal emails I'd saved. One day, Jasmine forwarded me a news article, local business owner under federal investigation for financial crimes. There was Rick's mugshot, looking stunned and bloated. Like the consequences had snuck up behind him. They didn't. I sent that link to my mother. She didn't respond. A month later, I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, no return address, but I recognized the cursive. My mother. I sat on my fire escape and read it with shaking hands. "Lena, I saw the news. I'm not going to pretend I understand everything, but I didn't know it had gone that far. Maybe I didn't want to know. Maybe I was scared to. I'm sorry if you felt abandoned. I never meant to hurt you. I thought Rick was helping us. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." That was it. Not an apology, not a confession. Just a maybe and a felt. I didn't respond. Some people say closure comes from forgiveness, but for me, it came from finally understanding that I was never the broken one. They were, and I was done cleaning up their mess. By the time I turned 22, I had finished my associate's degree, cleared 90% of my fraudulent debt, opened a secured credit card in my name responsibly, moved into a studio apartment, small but all mine, started helping Jasmine with volunteer work, guiding others who'd been financially abused. One day, a girl came in. 17, terrified. Her older boyfriend had opened accounts in her name and told her it wasn't a big deal. She couldn't even speak without crying. I took her hand and said, "I know, I've been there." And I meant it. I wrote one more letter, but not to my mother. To myself, I tucked it into a journal and kept it for days when I felt small again, days when I heard her voice in my head saying, "Stop playing victim." It read, "You were never the victim. You were the survivor, and now you're the storm they never saw coming."